Here we go. Digby Busy Talk number 2. Second shot.
Yes.
Yes, today's topic is, I just have a cheat sheet. 3 things to stop doing or avoid. We talk about to manage business, but you can apply, I think, lots of ideas into your own personal life as well. So here you go, Judy.
Oh.
We talked about it.
Yeah, we talked about it, and one of the things that Yuki and I have really decided that's interesting is that she's coming from a very business perspective, and being a life and wellness transformational coach, I'm coming at it from the self-development side as well as being a business owner. So we're kind of getting the best of both worlds here. And a couple of the things that came up immediately to mind, and I want to thank Yuki for coming up with the question, because it was like, oh, I have to stop and think about that. But the first thing on the list was, stop saying I can't. I can't.
Can I?
Can I? And as usual, I have a little story. When I was first a software engineer, I was working in a high-tech startup in Ottawa, which is Silicon Valley North. And we were doing some really cool, interesting stuff with AI and distributed computing and all sorts of fun stuff, but all stuff that hadn't been done before. Certainly hadn't been done by me. And I hadn't realized I had gotten into the habit of, when I was asked to do something, my response would be, I can't. And I had a new boss. And he very gently looked at me and he says, do you really mean you can't? Or do you mean you just don't know how yet? That was a really profound moment for me, Yuki, because I hadn't even realized I'd been saying those words. But knowing what I know about the subconscious now and how our subconscious takes things in very literally, I was in fact jinxing myself from ever being able to do that, because I was telling myself, I can't do that.
I was thinking about the same thing. Yeah,
exactly.
You were just telling yourself, no, I can't. No, I can't. You're limiting your ability.
You're limiting yourself. Yeah. Exactly. And so I really do appreciate that supervisor for bringing that to my attention, what I was doing to myself. So we do these kind of self-limiting things all the time. Yeah. But as soon as I stopped saying I can't and just said, oh, I just don't know how to do that yet, but I'll find out how.
That's right.
That changed everything for me, you know, and I was very blessed to have an amazing experience with high tech and spoke at international conferences and everything. So, I mean, I had a lot of success there once I stopped blocking myself and self-sabotaging myself. So if you find yourself saying, I can't, stop and think about it. Is it maybe that you just don't know how to yet?
That's right, yeah. For the most cases, you don't know if you can or not. You haven't even figured it out yet.
That's right. You haven't even tried.
So that's right. So first step is what you don't know yet to achieve the goal. Then you start seeing smaller steps. And then, what do you call that?
Yeah, it's called divide and conquer.
Thank you.
Right? Because sometimes, and that's also a computer science term, because sometimes the problem seems so overwhelming that you can't possibly see any way through it. But if you break it down into smaller pieces, and then you're tackling each of those smaller pieces, then the problem doesn't seem so big and overwhelming, you know.
Quite often the first step is ask people.
Yes, absolutely.
Start talking with people. Or today you can do a lot of internet research.
Yes.
And it's worth it, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it can give you more information. That's the starting point. Then you start looking farther and farther. And sometimes miracle happens.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Or seemingly miracle.
Seemingly miracle. Yeah. In business, I've discovered that all of the miracles have a heck of a lot of hard work behind them.
Yes. Just step by step, actually.
Yes. Yeah. One foot in front of the other.
Yeah. Yes. For the most time, it's accumulation of small things. And then people actually working behind the scenery.
Yeah. A whole lot of it. It's like that duck on the water.
That's
like
right.
Paddling like heck underneath.
Yeah. So before you say, I can't, think about, is that really true that you cannot do it, or you just don't know how to yet?
That's right.
Yeah, and it's up to you if you want to find out how to do it, or the choice is to quit. But next thing, yes, stop giving up too soon.
That's right. That was a beautiful segue. Awesome.
There you go. We didn't plan, but that's how another essential things. Yeah.
It is indeed. Sometimes the first time we have any kind of resistance, we stop. Like nobody likes having confrontation.
No.
Nobody likes having that pushback.
Mm-hmm.
But if you stop, you miss the opportunity of it ever happening. And I can't remember. It depends on who you're talking to in the marketing circles about how many times somebody needs to see your ad before they think they need it. So like the first time they may not even notice it, so consciously. The next time they look at it and dismiss it, and it goes on to, okay, well that might be interesting. And then by the time they get to the 11th or 12th time, it's like, oh yeah, I got to book an appointment because I know I need that. Yeah. But it takes that many times of seeing it before it gets familiar to them and they decide that they need it. So if you gave up the very first time you put an ad up and you didn't get any response, you're missing the magic, right?
That's right. Well, think about how the big companies, like, I don't say which brand, but there are lots of different brands which you always see at the store, on TV commercials, posters, on the bus, or whatever. That's the frequent reminder. They are sending the message, look at me, this is my product, this is the product you should buy, subconsciously.
That's right, this is the product you should trust. Recognize our brand, recognize our logo. They did some tests in elementary schools, and it was very disturbing that elementary school children, like 7, 8 years old, they could correctly identify 20 out of 20 corporate brands, but they could only identify 5 out of 20 of the fresh fruits and vegetables.
Oh my goodness. That's very depressing, but that's the
power. But it
power.
Illustrates the point.
That's the power of the advertisement, and the frequency is a huge thing.
Absolutely.
That's why they spend so much time, money for the advertisement. Now you, an individual business, try to get some information into your potential customers. Hey, one time is not enough.
One time's not going to get you there.
No. Yeah, so you have to keep trying.
That's right. Just don't give up.
That's right.
Find unique, interesting ways of maybe partnering with somebody else.
Yeah. Well, it's like you're hitting a girl.
Yeah.
Hey. Oh, today's dress is nice.
Yeah.
Oh, did you change makeup? That's the way.
That's right. That's right. Because you are in a way building a relationship with potential customers. Every time they see you or your brand, that you are building that relationship with them, even if you aren't face to face with them.
That's right. Yeah. And it's not necessary, I said hitting the girl, but also it shows you're caring about them.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
For example, if we are working both in a healthy sort of health promotional industry, so we care about people's health. So how are you eating? How are you feeling? Don't you have this problem? Oh, there's a flu. Are you okay? We can prevent this way. So we try to provide the beneficial information to our potential customers, which is a kind of good excuse to reach them, but also they feel they're cared.
That's right.
So you cannot just say, hey, look at me. But if you provide a nice information, that's actually both mutual. Nice way to interact.
And it's a heart-centered approach to marketing, which resonates much better with me, because for me, the thing that drives me is speaking to people and hearing the amazing changes they've made in their lives that have made such positive influence, and they're healthy now, and they're not on these 6 different medications, and they haven't fit into their jeans like from 20 years ago, and they're back into that size now, and it just makes them feel fabulous. They've got a sparkle in their eyes. That drives me, that connection, that seeing that positive impact on people. And so it's natural for me to be able to say something to someone like, wow, you've got an awesome, like you're got a skip in your step today. Things are going well. This is good. I'm glad to see that. So having those that connection is really vital. But just don't give up.
Right. Just like we talked about the imposter syndrome last time, and we talked about you cannot deceive yourself. Just honestly, if you feel something good about the person or you care about the person, just honestly show it. And don't hesitate to show it.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. And when it's heartfelt, it is sincere, and it comes across as sincere. Right. It's not just marketing.
That's right.
Yeah. But don't give up. Don't give up, and try different innovative things. It depends on what your market is as to how you're going to be approaching people and doing things. Or even just in different markets. I've done trade shows all up and down the Annapolis Valley and in Dartmouth, and so different things work better in different areas.
True.
And so, I mean, it's all part of learning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And most people don't actually remember you so often, so
That's right.
don't worry about it. Second time, third time, try.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
It's a good downside.
It gives you a chance to learn and grow, right?
Right.
Yeah.
On the other hand, yes, we have been trying lots of different ways to
Mhm.
reach people. But another thing came up was don't stretch yourself too thin.
That's right.
Don't
And
go too many things go everywhere.
absolutely,
Mhm.
because like we said in the last one as well, is that you are chief cook and bottle washer
Mhm.
when you're a one-person entrepreneur and a solopreneur, and so it's very easy to stretch yourself too thin because you're trying to do everything yourself. But if you get sick, there's no sick pay.
That's right.
You're not getting any income coming in,
No.
and you're going to feel like crap. So it's really, really important to look after yourself and know what your limits are. Prioritize.
Definitely. Yeah.
Constantly be reevaluating your to-do list and prioritizing. Even if the big things keep moving up onto the list, and this is something I used to struggle with, Yuki, is that it felt good. I'm a list person. If I do something that wasn't on the list, I put it on the list and then stroke it out. I'm such a list person.
Me too, actually.
So when there's a lot of satisfaction in stroking off those little things you can get off the list quick, but they may not be your priorities.
That's right.
So if your priority is a big thing that's going to take a lot of time, use the divide and conquer, right? Break it down into smaller tasks so you still get that satisfaction of completing something, that it doesn't seem like you've been working on this project for months and haven't got to stroke anything off that list. Break it down into bite-sized pieces so that it is more or less daunting. You're not going to say, I can't. You're going to be able to attack each of these things individually, take them off the list, not feel overwhelmed, which is really, really a big part of self-care and not taking on too much. So it all kind of ties together.
I just remember a while ago you mentioned about when you schedule, you don't feel up to this, right? You always leave half of the free time?
That's right. I only schedule half my day because the other half fills itself in quite nicely, thank you.
Yeah. I have no problem to see that.
Yeah.
It's so true.
Absolutely.
It's so true.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially if you're a wife and a mom and you've got other responsibilities in your
right.
life. That other half of the day, it fills itself in. And you don't want to be spending your whole time putting out fires. Only dealing with the crises, that's going to burn you out faster than anything. So don't overschedule yourself, because if you're constantly having to move something to the next day, to the next day, to the next day, that's going to wear on you after a while. Only schedule half your day.
Yeah, and you tend to sacrifice your sleep.
Yes.
I don't recommend that.
No.
It's not good.
No, not on any level, and even like when I come from a computer science background, I think my record for programming without sleep was 36 hours straight. I don't recommend that. There really is diminishing returns.
It's a bit too much, yeah.
Yeah, a little bit much. I mean, I certainly couldn't do it now. But when you're so focused and intense, it's amazing how you can keep pushing yourself through. But in doing that, there's all sorts of biochemical things going on in your body. We have a biological imperative to sleep, to rest and repair.
Yeah.
And if we keep stealing time out of our nighttime sleep, you don't make it up by sleeping in on Saturday. You don't make that time up. It's really, really important as an entrepreneur to take care of yourself and your sleep hygiene. And that's a whole other video I'll do on Raw Talk sometime.
But it depends on the job type. If you're an artist or something, you focus something and your creativity flows and you want to get it done, that's understandable.
Absolutely.
But you don't want to make it your habit.
That's right.
I was about to be there, and then I just tried to get out of that. It's a bad habit.
It's a very bad habit. Yeah. Well, and especially if you're getting positive feedback from what you're doing, that drives you to keep you pushing and pushing and pushing more. But you can't be in a pushing mode all the time, because that's a fight or flight response. You've got adrenaline, you've got cortisol, you've got all of these hormones flooding your body that are only biologically meant to be there in a short period of time, so you can outrun that saber-toothed tiger, not so that you can work through 36 hours of programming. So
no, you're not a robot.
That's right, you're not a robot. So allow yourself the downtime.
Yeah. Do you do anything to sort of refresh yourself, recharge yourself?
Oh,
regularly?
absolutely. Yeah. For me, being out in nature, like we are so blessed here in Digby. Like I'm even where I live, I'm only 2 kilometers from a really nice beach, and and so just walking on the beach. And my husband and I say this so often. We haven't taken a vacation since we moved here 4 years ago because we just go down to our local beach and walk up and down the beach. Which is exactly what we do if we go down to Cuba or Mexico. Is we spend our time walking on the beach. Now we can do it like 2 kilometers from home. So out in nature for me, hearing nature sounds, having my feet in wet ground and grounding that way, and in the water, that's really how I recharge.
It's nice to have your own way to recharge.
It is.
And now I do Tai Chi.
Ah, nice.
And then it's a good thing is there's the practice time window. So no matter what, I just save that time, and then even though I'm working, before that, I just drop it and I'm going, and then
Excellent. So you're actually scheduling that time in, and then that's brilliant. That
I have a very poor willpower. I need a structure.
I know. Well, if we think about it in terms of time management, if we had made an appointment with a client, we would not cancel that.
That's right.
You know, but if we have something we want to do, it's really easy to let it slide off the table, and we'll work through it. But if you make an appointment with yourself, the same way you make an appointment with a client, you make that commitment for that time for yourself, and that's a really, really good tip for time management and for self-care. Absolutely.
Yeah. So especially the busy person who has so many hats, and then you tend to say yes to everything, and then you have your list goes bigger and bigger. But it's worth it to take time to sort things out, and then just like Judy said, priorities.
Absolutely.
What is the higher priorities, and just have the courage to drop lower priorities. I mean, you can't take everything.
No, you can't. And that's come up with both of us recently, because we both really love giving back to our community and do a fair number of hours with volunteerism. And of course, anyone who's been in the realm of volunteering knows that the people who get asked to volunteer are the ones who are always volunteering, because you ask a busy person, it'll get it done. But you have to at some point, unless you're independently wealthy and can afford to be a professional volunteer, you have to at some point limit the number of hours that you're spending volunteering, and choose things that you are getting a lot out of, that are feeding you on a heart-centered level. It's very, very important to have that in your life, but you can't let it take over as well. So learning how to say no gracefully is a really good, it's a very...
It's okay,
learning how to say no gracefully is a very good skill to have.
Just thinking about that, the priorities, to define your priorities, also you need to know what is your priorities are. So we were talking about different things, and in later sessions we will talk about it, but both of us regularly do some exercise to define what, it's more like a self-assessment?
Inventory. I call it inventory,
And then look at yourself, deep inside yourself, and then where your passions are, what else? What's important to you? And then what is the most, the first step, let's put it that way. There's so many things, but to achieve your main goal, what is a practical first step? And you always constantly assess it. And then in my case, at least, in my case, those are the priorities. And many little things, let's say, well, if you want to achieve the healthy life, you have an option. You spend a lot of money, get the very expensive courses or something, and then hire a professional chef to cook for me. That's one way. But is it practical? No. So instead of go search through, which chef should I choose? Do I want to spend time now for that? Or, I will, cook myself, and then talk with Judy, for example, and get the good advice, and then start from there, which is higher priority to me. That kind of assessment. But to do that, you really need to know what you're looking for.
What your priorities are and what your resources are as well. We're doing a vision board workshop on Sunday, and sometimes we limit ourselves when we're thinking about our big, hairy, audacious dreams. But what you need to look at is allow yourself to do that sometimes, but then you have to kind of bring it back into the realm of reality. Okay, what can I do now with what I have now? Because you need to be making progress towards those dreams, and that's really important. Yeah, practically. Yeah. Exactly. Like you, if you are envisioning yourself being financially independent, well, you don't go out now and buy the little Ferrari, but you could go out and take it for a test drive. You know, like do practical things, but that aren't going to get you in trouble.
That's right. Yeah. The step-by-step thing. Yeah. So we'll talk about those things sometime. Yeah. The next or whatever in the future.
In the future, we're working on a list of topics.
Big list. Anyway.
I know. So we're going to have to prioritize.
That's right. Yeah. Anyways, that's probably good enough for today.
I think so. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you for joining us.
See you next time.
Digby Busy Talk.